Good afternoon and welcome to the statewide webinar of the association. I am Yomika Bennett, the Executive Director of the New York Charter Schools Association. Welcome back, everyone. I am joined by Anna Hall, CEO, Northeast Charter Schools Network, Lisa Long, Executive Director of the Charter Schools Office at NYSID, Catherine Connell Espinoza, Interim Executive Director of the SUNY Charter Schools Institute, and Erin Cochran, Interim Acting Senior Executive Director of Policy and Operations at New York City DOE. I said, welcome back, everyone. We hope everyone had a nice break and a pleasant start to 2023. We'll begin today's webinar. We're going to kick it off. We have several updates, so I want to get to it for today's webinar, and then we'll have updates. So we'll have updates from the association, then from our panel. We'll follow the usual format and open up for Q&A after that. Following the Q&A, we have a presentation from our special guest from SUNY's Office of Opportunity Programs. So kicking it off, Governor Hochul gave her State of the State address today. State of the State address today. On education, the governor plans to fully fund foundation aid, including $250 million for high impact tutoring, expanding full day kindergarten, and creating a new early college high school programs. The governor did not specifically address charter school education in the State of the State. So of course, the association will be advocating for our legislative priorities and trying to ensure the initiatives announced today do not exclude charter schools and charter school students. We have already kicked off our advocacy for our legislative priorities that started prior to the new year with the letter writing campaign. The goal is to get at least 1,000 letters to the governor by the middle of this month. So far, we have more than 800 letters. Families have led the effort, sending more than 750 letters. Schools have sent 88 letters. So dear school leaders, faculty, staff, board members, everyone who can hear us, please send the letters. We need you to catch up with the parents. We need to exceed that. We're dropping the link in the chat. It's very important for schools to be part of the advocacy efforts. Please share this within your entire school community to support the fight for great schools. The links in the chat will be for letters, our social media campaign. We do need all hands on deck for this. Hopefully this will be a great year for charters and we need your help. Continuing on our advocacy efforts on Tuesday, January 24th for School Choice Week, New York City and upstate parents of charters, district, private, homeschool students will join together to stand up for parent choice by traveling to Albany and meeting with legislators. If you have families who may be interested in attending these meetings, please have them complete the form that's being dropped in the chat. Transportation, food are provided, of course, for the families. The New York City Charter School Center is organizing New York City Borough Delegation Days. The first of these trips will be for schools in the Bronx and will be held on January 31st. So on January 31st, they're traveling out to Albany. The form for this trip is being dropped in the chat. Please note that the final day to sign up for the Bronx Delegation Day is Thursday, January 12th. So get those forms in by the 12th. Additional signups for future borough days are also being dropped in the chat. Please note the change for the Queens Delegation Day, which it was originally scheduled. The Queens Day was March 7th, is now March 8th. Transportation and food, as I said, for all these trips will be provided. Stay tuned for dates for other regions within the state. Our New York State Charter Parent Council, is hard at work. As I said, we have 750 letters from parents. They're going to keep going and making sure our parents are aware of this letter writing campaign. And this being session is a crucial time for us to pair our parents and parent liaisons to advocate and to protect and promote the charter community. Families can help prepare by joining the association's statewide parent council. Please encourage your families to join at our next meeting, which will be held tomorrow, Wednesday, January 11th at 6 p.m. Future meetings are regularly held on the second Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. A link to register for these virtual meetings is dropped in the chat. We have some parent training trainings coming up from the Parent Council. And I'm going to actually back up a little bit, do a real quick shout out for the Parent Council. We do expect to have a legislator attend the Parent Council meeting tonight. So if you have parents who want to hear directly from elected officials and find out what's going on at Albany and what may be to come, please encourage them to join the Parent Council tomorrow at 6 p.m. Parent Council also invites families and family liaisons to join their next virtual training session. It's on Thursday, January 19th at 6 p.m. And that session will cover New York State school performance. These sessions are ideal to inform the advocates for your schools on interpreting and communicating about New York State school performance data. Registration for the session is being dropped in the chat. Good news for people who like to find money. New York State unclaimed funds for charter schools is out there. So the Office of New York State Comptroller maintains a website, as you many may know, organizations and entities to look up and claim any unclaimed state funds to which you may be owed. We want to make sure charter schools are aware of this resource and to check to see if there are any current unclaimed funds that should be accessed. A review by the association found that several charter schools may have unclaimed funds to which they are entitled. We're dropping a link to the website so you can check the status of any unclaimed funds. Our school support programming returns in January this month with a host of seminars, visits, and webinars for various school stakeholders. Start with Critical Friends. So we are excited to announce the return of our in-person Critical Friends visit. Our next session will be held on February 9th at 10 a.m. at Discovery Charter School in Rochester. Spaces are still available as we dive into their problem of practice, which will look at efforts to improve student classroom engagement. Schools and academic leaders are invited to attend this event. As you can see, the form for this and future visits is dropped into the chat. Our regularly scheduled working groups will reconvene in the new year, and as we continue to dive deeply into topics relevant to our stakeholders. Our next board meeting, which will be on January 19th, and this is the board members working group. It's scheduled for January 19th at 4 p.m. It will focus on leadership transitions and succession planning. We'll be hosting the first of our data visualization workshops as part of the next data work group. Okay, I'm gonna rewrite these texts next time. Data working group on January 24th at 10 a.m. Again, let me try that again. The data visualization workshops as part of the next data working group will be on January 24th at 10 a.m. We will be hosting an interactive session on the use of Tableau so that schools can evaluate if this program and its visualization and dashboarding platform may have benefits for your campus. As always, we also will be providing updates on any upcoming reporting deadlines. Finally, the next operations working group session is scheduled for January 27th at 10 a.m. and will focus on budgeting. We have an expert facilitator who will provide strategies for schools to better bring school voice into the budgeting process and develop budgets that reflect strategic priorities. Registration for these sessions are dropped in the chat. Please feel free to share with other members of your school teams and your board, anyone who may be interested in participating. On January 25th at 4 p.m., the association will be hosting a webinar on student and staff mental health therapy. We will be sharing resources that schools can use to provide supports to both the adults in your building as well as your student community. Representatives from Uncommon and the Up Education Network will be sharing their experience using mental health teletherapy in an accessible and equitable way and the impact it has had on the school these past 2 years. You can sign up for this webinar by clicking on the registration link in the chat. That's it for the association web updates. I will now turn it over to Lisa, Catherine, and Aaron for any updates that they would like to share. And we'll start with you, Lisa.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. This week, the Board of Regents were presented with recommendations for reducing disparities in and reforming school discipline, as well as some discussion about professional development, free professional development for the teaching in remote hybrid learning environments grant. If you haven't had a chance, if you didn't see those presentations, particularly the one on school discipline, if you're able to see that on the web, it's worth a look. It was also great to see that charter school leadership on our Blue Ribbon Commission and Blue Ribbon Commission on graduation measures where the overarching goal is to explore what it means to obtain a diploma in New York State and what that diploma should signify to ensure educational excellence and equity for all students in New York State. On that commission, we have from our charter school leadership, Melissa Malconian, and forgive me if I'm not getting the right names pronounced correctly, and Paji Chung and Tolga. We look forward to amazing ideas from them as they are thinking through the graduation standards with that Blue Ribbon Commission. I also wanted to note that the Student Digital Resources Report is due in level 2 on January 27th. And that's about it in terms of updates and comments from me.
All right, great. Thanks, Lisa. I'm going to turn it over to you, Catherine.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Yamika. Happy New Year to everybody. It's always great being together. We have a couple of updates from SUNY. The Student Recruitment and Marketing Efforts Summary Form is due January 16th via Epicenter. The form is available on our website, and Mike Lazinski will go ahead and drop a link to that in the chat, as well as a link to our compliance calendar, which is a valuable resource to all SUNY charters, just so you can stay ahead of upcoming deadlines. Additionally, Governor Hochul has announced the application for the Excelsior Scholarship for the spring 2023 term. That is now open, and that scholarship, in combination with other student financial aid, allows eligible full-time students to attend a SUNY or CUNY 2-year or 4-year college tuition free. So Mike's also going to add the link to that as well. And Yumika, keeping it short and sweet, that is all from SUNY. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thank you. Hi, Erin. How are you?
I'm all right. Hope everyone is doing well so far in 2023. On the authorizing front, we did send an email out today notifying our schools that are not going through renewal that we are shifting our ACR data collection deadline about a month. So if you didn't get that email, heads up, we'll be posting the template later this month, and it will be due at the end of February. Beyond that, no major updates from us. We just really strongly encourage school leaders and their staff to be reviewing the charter schools weekly. Every day we get questions that have been recently answered in the charter schools weekly. So if you're not receiving it, or if your staff's not receiving it, you can easily be added to the C Weekly. You can either do it directly yourself in CHIP, or there's a way you can request access in Mojo Help Desk. I'll pop the link in the chat. We just want to make sure that you have the answers that you need as soon as you need them. And we have a lot of those going out in the C Weekly. So wanted to put in a plug for that. And that's all we have today.
Right, great. Thank you, Erin. Okay, so that wraps up our updates. We're going to open up now for questions. Anybody has questions, you can come off mute or raise your hand. This is that fun time of the webinar. I feel like we should have like the Jeopardy music to see if there are any questions coming. We'll give it another minute, folks. You can, like I said, you can raise your hand, come off mute. You can even drop it in the chat if you'd like. Otherwise, we'll move on to our special guest. All right. Hearing none and seeing none, I will move on to our special guest. I'm happy to welcome Mark Sanders, Strategic Recruitment Coordinator at the SUNY Office of Opportunity Programs. Mark will share some important information on supports for students. The EOP program provides academic support and financial aid for students across New York. Mark will present an overview of this program. Within his role, Mark focuses his efforts on building relationships with community-based organizations and high school stakeholders throughout New York State. His work aims to provide college access and success tools to underserved and underrepresented students and families. Please welcome Mark Sanders, excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yumika. Appreciate you. And thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you all about EOP and to kind of revive any of the information that you already know and kind of give you some new information that you probably haven't heard about EOP. So I know that I'm in a short time frame, but please, if you have any questions, please put those in the chat and I'll try to get to them while I'm going through the presentation as well as after. But definitely just going to share my screen in a second. But thank you for having me. Can anybody see my screen? I'm sorry if I can't see anybody. If I could just get a verbal yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're all set.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Again, so my name is Mark Sanders. I'm the strategic coordinator. I'm a recruitment coordinator for Office Opportunity Program. So today we're just going to go over a overview of EOP, of what the program is, who we serve, the benefits that the students receive. Also, we're going to talk about some other initiatives that support students who fall under the student populations that we serve on our colleges. Okay, but to give you a little bit of background about myself as well, I was also an EOP alumni from SUNY Plattsburgh and really proud to be here to talk about the program on the other side of the table. So what is EOP? EOP is a program that supports students that's coming from low-income families that are academically unprepared to reach the schools that they desire in SUNY. So our program allows those students to gain access at our schools at a limited number of seats for the schools that EOP exists. And this is a really great way to give those students hope and give them opportunities to realize their untapped potential. And so this is going to give us understanding of what this program is in a nutshell, but we're going to talk about the history in a second. The program was founded in 1967 by former Assemblyman Arthur Eve, and we're really proud that this program was started at University of Buffalo as the first EOP campus. And since then, we've grown to 54 of the 64 colleges and universities across SUNY. And so that, you read that right, we're not yet at all of our SUNY schools yet so far, but we're getting there. So last year, we've recruited about 4 of the community colleges. We're looking to move forward with 2 additional community colleges this year in 2023, but we are currently at all 4-year universities, which is really exciting for a lot of students. Our program serves approximately about 10,000 students per year, and we enroll about 3,000 each year as well. Since the inception of the program, we've graduated over 77,000 students, including myself. And this kind of gives us, no, it's not kind of, let me rephrase that, but this marks us as one of the most successful and biggest opportunity programs in the country. So we're really excited about our program and the legacy that has been created by Arthur Eve and others, and those who are on our college campus serving our students. This is just giving you a map and showing you where we are. So I know a lot of you all are not all over throughout New York, so you probably are near a SUNY campuses that have EOP, and this gives you an opportunity to see what schools they are. As you may or may not know, we have a variety of different types of schools at SUNY, university colleges, university centers, we have technology schools and community colleges, and they're all listed here. What I like to tell students about these schools is that they have everything available to our students through EOP as a regular admit student would have. For example, at the University of, let's say, Cornell, right? Cornell is on our list for SUNY schools. Students have access to Cornell through EOP and getting all the additional services that we're going to talk about in a few minutes to help them not only get into that school, but also succeed all the way to graduation. Okay, and it's great because once a student is EOP, I'm not for sure if this applies to anyone here, but students are able to transfer from school to school if they go to a community college 2-year school to a 4-year school to an EOP program as well. So once the student is enrolled, they have the ability to stay within the program and even to grad school, and I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. So these are the 4 community colleges that we added last year: Cayuga Community College, Corning, Rockland, and Tompkins Cortland Community College. And we're really excited to have them on our team, and so they can support more of the students in their current areas. So The services that you see here on this page is going to be a scratch of the surface of what students are actually getting on our college campuses. But just give you a short list. Student advising is very important. I remember going into my EOP summer program, but I want to talk about it as well. It gives, and we get additional advisors in addition to our majors, and as well EOP gives you an advisor. And so that gives students an opportunity to look at things from a big picture. So I was actually a triple business major graduating from SUNY Plattsburgh. And it was because of EOP, really, because we had an opportunity to map out all 4 years and not semester by semester. So I knew what I needed to do ahead of time and how to maximize that. Students always need support. And I think EOP adds an extra layer of support of what our colleges and universities already provide, with unlimited tutoring and classes and the courses that they need most. I like to say that EOP is a wraparound service, so it's not just academic support, but students also get individualized or group counseling. Obviously, with the pandemic and the rise of mental health issues going on, EOP has been had in-house counseling as well as in connection to our counseling offices and centers across the SUNY system. Mentoring is a big piece of the program. We have a saying that goes, lifting as you climb. And because every summer students are enrolled before the school starts, and they assign or a group with additional students that are already in school, as well as advisors and mentors to help them throughout their first year and every year that they're in the program. And then when they become upperclassmen, they also do the same for the incoming school students. So it creates a community support that students don't generally receive until they start school. So our students are getting that before they actually become college freshmen. Also, they get personal and career counseling. We want to see our students not only successful in the classroom, but as well as in the careers and the pathways that they choose to go to. So throughout our program, we offer career counseling, resume workshops, mock interviews, and even opportunities to students to interview for internships and jobs throughout our program. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we created initiatives to support that as well. We also have workshops that are, I think, is one of those things now that I'm an adult and I see the things that EOP is offering that students are now receiving for free. Public speaking is definitely not one of my strongest suits when I was in school, but I think because of EOP, it's given me the opportunity to not only step into that space, but thrive. And I would like to, definitely share my accolade of sharing a stage with Michelle Obama in 2018 during her book tour. And I think that EOP really gave me an opportunity to have that confidence and support to express myself vocally in front of thousands of people in the Brooklyn Barclays Center. And so it really gives an opportunity to students to realize their potential and also achieve that potential. And one of the most biggest misconceptions of our program is that we're a financial aid program, and we're not that, right? However, we do try to support our students as best as we can financially. So we provide students with books that they receive, book funding that we receive every semester that they're in the school, and we give them a stipend as well as every year that they're in the program. And so this may not pay for their full ride of SUNY, but it's also giving them some support that they wouldn't have if they were not in the program. So one of I think the best things that EOP students receive is the pre-freshman summer program, which happens after the student applies and get accepted to one of our SUNY institutions that has EOP. They are invited to come to the campus for 4 to 5 weeks over the month of July. And during that time period, students are collaborating with each other, maybe about 50 to 200, depending on what program or school they're at. So they build an internal network. They also have tutors, advisors, and mentors, and an assigned advisor with them that supports them and gets them prepared. So they take math, English, and some of these courses are actually accredited. So some of our EOP students are actually going into college with credits that they can use towards graduation. which is a really great tool for them. And I like to think that this program over prepares our students for their first year and every year that they're in the program, and thus they become the leaders and more supporters of their classmen who are coming in regular admissions, who don't have all of the support and the resources that EOP has. And so this is really giving our students the opportunity to step into leadership positions and et cetera. And I think that that's true across all SUNY campuses. You're bound to find EOP students who are thriving on campuses socially and as well as academically. Eligibility for EOP, we're going to talk about this in detail, but students need to meet our financial guidelines we're going to talk about. They also will need to meet our traditional academic guidelines, which varies by each college. They must be applying as a full-time student, and they also must be a resident of New York State 12 months, prior to enrolling in their first class. So if a student is in high school, which would be the case for your students, their 12th grade year, they should be fine and applying to EOP under these guidelines. I see we have a question in the chat. How does a student in high school advisor access this program? It's a great question. I'm definitely going to answer that throughout the rest of the presentation. So I'll get to that. Okay, so this is our EOP profile. I'm just going to put this in the chat so you can see it a little clearer for those who want this information. But this is basically our guidelines for all of the 54 schools that we offer EOP at, and also the financial guidelines. So we're going to talk about the academic guidelines for a brief moment. So on the left, you see all the schools that we have here. You see the undergrad enrollment on the first column. And then the next column is the number of available seats at EOP. And so you see that there's a drastic difference between the number of students that are enrolled for regular admissions and the number of available seats for EOP for our program. So they're very limited. All right. And then you'll see the SAT, ACT, and GPA requirements for those schools. And as you briefly look at the GPAs, you'll see that the ranges go from as high as a 94 and as low as a 70, right? But these ranges are 50% averages of what we accepted last year, and the other 50% is cut in half. So 25% is slightly below these ranges, and the other 25% is slightly above those ranges, all right? And as you know, for this incoming graduating seniors, they are able to apply to SUNY without an SAT or ACT and still be offered a decision at the colleges. We're not for sure how long this is going to continue, but this is where we are right now. Okay. Outside of this column, there's also something that students will also complete called the EOP financial form, which allows them to apply, to go through our EOP financial verification, which is the second part of our process. And we have one form that goes to multiple colleges, and these are the schools who participate in that form. So you'll see a yes or no. And then every school that offers EOP offers a summer program. It's actually a requirement for students to complete before they even become students. So they have to go through that program if they want to be an EOP student at the schools. Okay. Next, we have the financial guidelines. I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. So our financial guidelines are based on household size and total annual income. So let's say, for example, we have 5 people who live in a household and the household makes $60,070 or less, they will qualify for EOP. If there's 5 people in a household and they make more than that number here, then they would not qualify for EOP. All right. And I like to tell students in their constituents that it's really an opportunity for students who meet these guidelines to get those services, and that's the student population that we want to serve. For those who want these amazing benefits or similar benefits to this program, there's other SUNY programs and initiatives that they can apply to. One example of that is TRIO, also known as the Student Support Services, that offers similar programming and advising, but it's just not the same as EOP, but it's very close. Okay. There are some income exceptions. If the family is receiving state or federal assistance through safety net payments, maybe daycare, or even disability, right? These are things that are generally indicators that the family will qualify financially for our program. And a student who is a foster care, who's in foster care or a youth in care, then they will also automatically qualify financially for this program, as well as students who are ward of the court. Okay, but they would still have to go through the application process and just identify what students meet their academic qualifications. And I just want to make one more quote about this educational guidelines. So all of our students who meet these guidelines I would encourage them to apply to schools within their GPA academic ranges, right? But one thing about EOP that's unlike any other program that you can qualify for, if you meet these requirements, EOP, you can actually overqualify for a program based on your academic profile, whether it's a combination of your GPA and your SAT or ACT scores, or just your SAT. Excuse me, or just your GPA. And so the way I like to explain this is that, let's say a student wants to go to Brockport and the GPA range is an 80 from an 88, and the student has a 98, right? So what that school would say is, hey, the student does not, according to us, SUNY Brockport, it does not demonstrate academic need, and so EOP is not for that student, and we're going to put them into regular admissions, even if they qualify financially. And so I like to tell students and families that if you see that you're applying to school that you overqualify for it academically, let's be strategic about selecting schools that meet your academic profile so you get the support of EOP. And this is even for students who are high achievers in high schools, because we know that the environment in high school may not be the same in college to help them on that same, to perform at that same level. And with EOP, we are confident that they will. So again, I hope that I made that clear. So with EOP, you can underqualify if your grades are too low, and you can overqualify if you're too high. But if you're right within those ranges, or maybe about 5 points above or below, I encourage those students to apply. All right, and so for this year, as I mentioned, submitting standardized test scores are optional. So the student has an option to submit those scores. I would recommend that the student, if anything that they can show where they are in need of academic support according to that school. For example, Cornell's requirement is a 90 to 94. I don't think a student has a 90 to 94 GPA requirement is a student in need, but that's what Cornell deems for EOP. So, you know, just to be strategic about if you're going to submit your test score, what that means for you. Also, I would recommend that students apply as early as possible. We are operating on a rolling admissions, but the sooner the better. The sooner the student applies, the better chances they have of getting reviewed and a decision being made. Because as soon as they apply, they're submitting the time that they're going to be reviewed, opposed to somebody applying in February. And so this really gives them opportunity to get ahead of that process. Also, students must indicate that they want to apply to EOP, and you can do that 2 ways, answering the question that's in the chat. So when a student applies to a program to EOP, they can do it 2 ways. They could do it through SUNY application or the Common App application, and there's going to be a yes or no question on that first page. Are you applying for the Education Opportunity Program? A prompt will then be generated that shows them that financial chart to ask them if they qualify for the program. If they say yes, that's all they would need to do for that first part of the application. The second part of the application is going to be financial review, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on. And also they need to submit letters of recommendations. And some of our schools do request EOP specific essays, but that's going to be a case-by-case basis. This is just giving you a timeline of what a student applying to our schools look like. We do research as early as August, but as late as December, January, but we encourage students to apply as soon as possible so they can get a decision around April, and so they can make a choice of what school they want to go to on May 1st. Students graduate in June and then are invited to a summer program in July. This is a example of our fee waivers. So students who are who qualify for our financial requirements, they are able to apply to 7 schools for free using our SUNY fee waivers. So many of you have college advisors or counselors who are dealing with your students that have access to our SUNY Connect portal that can automatically assign these waivers to them. But if they don't have that, they can download our fee waiver form right on our website at suny.edu. The financial form that I mentioned shows you what schools participate on that financial form that I mentioned earlier, and it gives you the forms that specific schools use if they don't. For example, Stony Brook is a college that does not participate on this form, and they have their own individual form. You can find that right on our website listed here. Successful applicants, I would always tell a student to apply early, right? Also, it's great for them to show demonstrated interest. And what that looks like is them taking a proactive approach of calling, emailing, or even requesting interviews from the campus, right? Also by attending events like this that we're doing right now, to getting to know admissions advisors from their region of making decisions for their schools. And so that way, anytime that they interacted with the school, whether there's a phone call, an email, or even attending an event, all of those touch points show up on the student's application. And I can't guarantee an acceptance, but it gives the application reviewer understanding that this student is serious about learning more about the school and potentially going. So it definitely could, make or break the student if they're on the cusp, but definitely it's always a positive on everybody's application if they show demonstrated interest. So that's one way I tell students to apply, but also, ask questions. I submitted my application. How can I improve my application? What is it that I can do to learn more about the school? And these are great ways to interact with our colleges and our admissions advisors. One other thing that I want to inform you of that also is associated with EOP is the Foster Youth College Success Initiative, which supports students that were in care anytime after their 13th birthday with additional funding up to $10,000 a year. And this funding can be utilized for tuition and fees, housing, meals, books and supplies, transportation, personal expenses, and even medical expenses, really. Because we all know that students who are in care or who were in care face different barriers than our regular admit students that they need additional support. And this is what this funding is to support them through. And the way that they apply to this is it varies. This program is for EOP students, but it's also for students who are not in EOP, but also meet these requirements, okay? They can apply right on our SUNY website, indicating that they are foster youth. That is a question on our SUNY website. Or once they're accepted, they don't have to identify, but once they're on the campus or at the campus, they can go to the financial aid office if they're non-EOP. And if they are EOP, they can also identify with their EOP director at the campus. A request for documentation from their agency will be requested. And once we receive that information, we'll put those students on our list, and that funding will be rolled out to them that first semester. And this program, once they register with us, they don't have to register anymore. They will get the funding every year that they're in this program. And I think it's a really great way for our students to overcome those barriers that we talked about, but also leave SUNY debt-free. And we also have a saying in EOP that goes, once you're EOP for life. And the Graduate Opportunity Program proves that, because it allows students who are EOP, HEOP, or SEEK. And if you're not familiar with EOP, we also have this program at private schools that's called HEOP, and also at SUNY, where the program actually originated at CUNY, and it's also for the CD program as well. But if a student it's EOP at SUNY, CUNY, or out of state or private school, they can come to SUNY and get partial tuition assistance for the graduate program. The two caveats is that they must be a full-time graduate student and must have gotten an acceptance from the school in order to receive the funding. And this is great for many reasons because, as I mentioned, we want to see our students successful not only at our campuses, but in their career paths and even moving towards. So obviously the pandemic presented a lot of challenges for the medical field, and we realized that there's not enough students that represent the population that we serve in medical fields. And so we created the pre-medical opportunity program as an additional layer of support that our school for our school's pre-med programs for EOP students. And this gives our students opportunities to visit our medical facilities throughout the summer. And years prior, since the inception of this program in 2021, they've been to Upstate Medical and as well as Stony Brook Medical Program, and they shadow different medical professionals and get mentorship from them. Also, this prepares them for the MCAT exam, and they give a $5,000 stipend for being in the program. So it's a really great way for students to gain access to this program. And if they do go through this program successfully and get into a SUNY graduate medical program, they can utilize the GOP program to help with their medical degree. And so it's a really great way to, streamline students to career paths with additional supports and a little bit of funding. I'm almost done with my presentation, but I like to always emphasize financial literacy. So we have an amazing tool at SUNY called SUNY Smart Track that educates students on the financial literacy of going to college, but also personal, with budgeting, using credit cards, avoiding identity theft, borrowing from banks, etc. And I think that the more that they learn before going to school, the better they be off financially when they leave school. And I didn't have this when I was in school, but I definitely was following some of the principles that it had, and was able to leave school with at least as debt possible because of some of the opportunities that exist through EOP and as well as the colleges themselves. So I highly recommend students, take advantage of this free financial literacy tool that SUNY offers to further, involve themselves of making the best decisions going to college. So that concludes my presentation. Does anybody have any questions? And feel free to unmic or put it in the chat if you want. So great question. So a student can access the EOP program, through many ways. So first off, there's going to be a variety of different EOP presentations that's going to take place similar to this one throughout virtually as well as in person at the SUNY Global Center in New York City. Also, they can ask about the EOP program at their interested colleges that they're looking to apply to get more information. But if they want to apply, they can apply to two ways, through the SUNY application or the Common App application for the 4-year programs. If they're looking to apply through the community college level, they can apply directly through those community college applications through their websites. And also, I'm going to share my email if you want to connect directly with me to present to your students virtually or in person. Yes, so I will share that. And yes, there are pamphlets that we can give virtually that I have, but the physical ones we'll have to make a request for them. Is there any other questions on? I think it's one more. Yes, I can. Thank you. Oh, wait. Thank you. And I'll also put the website for EOP if you want more information as well. But just a quick question for the group, but does this seem like a program that applies to your students that you're working with? And feel free, anybody can unmic or put it in the chat. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so please feel free to reach out, and I'll be more than happy. And we also have 25 student ambassadors that are currently at our schools to support with recruitment as well as mentorship and guiding students into SUNY and make sure that they're connected the best ways possible. So if you want myself or one of our student ambassadors that may be in your area to come to your school, please reach out because we would love to have them, talk to your students. Also, and I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
All right, this was great. Thank you so much, Mark. I'm going to give another second just so anybody has any parting comments or questions for Mark before we close out. I'm going to take the opportunity to say that I want to put in a pitch to have you or one of the student ambassadors to please address the New York State Charter Parent Council as well and let parents know about these programs. And then between the schools and the parents, right, everybody's informed and can get kids into these great programs. So
absolutely.
Thank you. I'm also going to do a shout out for former Assemblyman Arthur Eve, who I did have the pleasure of working in Assembly while he was there. It was awesome. This was a great program that he created and has been very proud of it. And so awesome to see this.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Mark, so much. I hope everyone takes the opportunity to grab the information from the chat before we close out today. Thank you for everyone for joining today. As always, we will post today's recording in the Resource Center on our website. A link to access these recordings will be dropped in the chat. Please reach out to us if you have any questions about the topics discussed, or interested in having your school present at one of our monthly webinars. Our monthly webinars are made possible through the contribution and commitment of our school members. Thank you to our members. We appreciate the ability to host these forums for the full New York Charter School community. If you are not a member of the association, we encourage you to join today by emailing membership@nycharters.net. We hope to see you all next month on February 14th, Valentine's Day, for our next webinar. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.